Hello, my friend. Thank you for joining me tonight for another calming sleep story. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've listened before, I'm so glad you've returned. These stories are made to help you drift into rest, to quiet the mind, and soften the body, so that sleep can find you gently. Tonight's story was written by Robert, and I want to thank him for sharing it with us. It's a quiet myth, one that speaks not of battles or storms, but of patience, calm, and the wisdom that comes in silence. The story of the Owl of Athena, a tale from ancient Greece of a small bird, a watchful goddess, and a young soul who learns that true wisdom doesn't shout, it listens. So before we begin our journey, take a moment to settle in. Find a comfortable position and allow your breath to flow softly and naturally. There's nothing to fix, nothing to do. Just breathe and rest. Take a slow breath in through your nose and gently exhale through your mouth. Again, a deep breath in and release it slowly. Let the shoulders drop. Let the jaw loosen. Let the eyes grow heavy. Notice the gentle rhythm of your breath, steady and effortless. The quiet pulse that carries you through this moment. Now, imagine the surface beneath you. Feel its quiet support. The weight of your body sinking deeper, softer, safer. And beneath that, the calm steadiness of the earth itself, solid and ancient, holding you completely. With each breath, your thoughts begin to drift further away. The day fades quietly behind you. Only the soft stillness of night remains. Now picture a faint silver glow spilling across the floor of an old stone courtyard. The air warm, yet touched by the coolness of evening. Olive branches sway gently in the breeze. Somewhere, far off, a single bell rings from the Acropolis. This is where our story begins. In ancient Athens, at the edge of night, as the last golden light fades and the first stars appear. In the heart of the city, the goddess Athena watches over her people, and beside her temple, in the shadow of marble columns, a quiet owl opens its eyes. Athens rests beneath a sky of pale silver. The last threads of daylight fade, and the warmth of day softens into the hush of night. From the Acropolis to the winding alleys below, the city exhales. Temple fires dimming, merchants closing their stalls, voices settling into whispers. Lanterns flicker along the stone streets, their light golden and calm. Somewhere, a lyre plays faintly, its notes drifting like feathers in the air. You can almost feel the rhythm of that ancient life, the heartbeat of the city, slowed for the night. The olive trees outside the walls rustle softly, their leaves catching the starlight like tiny mirrors. Beyond them, the Aegean Sea lies still, reflecting the moon in silver ripples. Beneath that sky, a single figure walks alone. He is young, perhaps 20, a scholar by day, a dreamer by night. His name is Nicandros. He carries a small lamp in one hand, its flame trembling in the breeze, and in the other, a scroll of papyrus tied with a strip of linen. He has spent the evening among philosophers, listening to long arguments about reason and truth. But as he steps out into the quiet streets, those words feel heavy, distant, too sharp for the softness of the hour. What he wants, though he cannot say it, is something gentler, something that doesn't need to be proven or defended, a kind of understanding that comes only when the mind stops reaching. As he walks, his sandals whisper against the stones. A cat crosses his path, pausing to watch him, its eyes glinting green in the light of his lamp. From a nearby courtyard comes the smell of bread, fresh from an evening hearth. The air is warm and full of small, familiar sounds. A door closing, the rustle of a robe, the soft murmur of prayers. He passes beneath the shadow of the Parthenon. The columns rise above him, white and endless, catching the moonlight on their edges. Even now the temple breathes, not loudly, but with a sacred stillness, as if the marble itself remembers the touch of the goddess. Nicandros pauses. He lowers his lamp. He listens. All around him the world hums quietly, not with music, but with balance. A cricket sings somewhere in the grass. The breeze moves through the olive trees. The faint scent of incense lingers from a priest's evening offering. He breathes in deeply, and the moment feels still enough to last forever. But then from the dark branches above comes a sound, a small, deliberate flutter of wings, not hurried, not startled, but purposeful, as if something ancient has just awakened. Nicandros looks up. There, perched upon the lintel of a nearby column, is an owl. Its feathers are pale, almost white in the moonlight, and its eyes, large and golden, seem to reflect every flicker of the flame he carries. For a long moment, neither of them move. The owl tilts its head slightly, as if studying him, and then blinks, slowly, deliberately, in a gesture that feels almost like greeting. Nicandros has seen many owls before. They roost along the city walls. They circle the groves beyond the temple. But this one feels different, too calm, too present. He takes a careful step closer. The owl does not fly away. Instead, it spreads its wings, just once, wide and graceful, and the air seems to shimmer around it. The young man whispers to himself, barely audible in the quiet night. Athena's Glaucs, the Owl of Athena. The goddess's symbol of wisdom and vision. His mother once told him that when the owl appears, Athena herself is near, watching, guiding, listening. He stands there, the flame of his lamp quivering. And for the first time that day, his thoughts stop moving. He doesn't speak. He doesn't bow. He simply watches and feels watched in return. The owl blinks again, turns its head toward the Parthenon, and then back to him. A silent invitation. The breeze carries a whisper of cool air across his skin, and a few olive leaves drift down, spinning gently through the moonlight. He feels, though he cannot explain why, that he is meant to follow. He begins to walk again, slowly, the owl gliding ahead of him from column to column, its wings silent as thought. Together they move through the sacred grounds. The marble underfoot glows faintly in the lamplight. Shadows stretch long and soft across the steps. Each footfall echoes, a rhythm against the stillness. When they reach the edge of the hill, Nicandros pauses once more. From here the whole of Athens lies below. Lanterns like stars, streets curling through the darkness like silver veins. Beyond the rooftops, the sea gleams under the moon, and above it all, the owl hovers in quiet watch. Nicandros lets the lamp's flame fade out. The city light is enough now. The night is enough. He sits on the cool stone, the air around him filled with the whisper of feathers. For the first time in weeks, he feels no need to think, only to listen. Somewhere the owl calls, once, a low rounded sound, so soft it could be mistaken for wind. He closes his eyes, and in that stillness the story truly begins. The night passes slowly, a calm, endless drift of silver and shadow. Nicandros wakes to the coolness of dawn, soft light spilling between the temple columns. The air smells of dew and crushed olive leaves. He blinks against the pale horizon, half unsure whether the owl was real or part of some waking dream. The city below is stirring. Merchants lift their shutters. Donkeys bray softly. The scent of baked barley bread floats on the morning breeze. He stands, brushes the dust from his robe, and looks again to the lintel above the temple door, the place where the owl had perched, empty now. But there, on the stone ledge, a single white feather. He lifts it gently. The feather glimmers faintly in the morning sun, cool to the touch, as though it still holds the chill of night. He tucks it inside his robe, close to his heart, and begins the slow walk back down the marble steps. The day moves on. Nicandros spends his hours in the stoa, the long, open hall of scholars. Voices echo in the shade of its columns. Philosophers debate the nature of virtue. Students read aloud from crumbling scrolls. But today, his thoughts drift elsewhere. He finds himself listening not to the arguments, but to the space between them, to the quiet moments when the world seems to breathe. When he closes his eyes, he can almost hear the owl's wings again, soft and certain, cutting through the stillness. That evening, as the sun begins to sink, he walks once more toward the temple. The sky burns with amber light, and the air hums with cicadas. He climbs the hill slowly, his steps matching the rhythm of his breath. At the top, the Parthenon glows, its marble warmed by the fading day. And there, in the shadows between two columns, he sees her again. The owl. Perched upon a carved stone capital, her feathers glowing faintly in the sunset, she watches him, head tilted slightly, as though she's been waiting. He stops, keeping a respectful distance. "Are you truly hers?" he whispers, almost shyly. "Or only a messenger, for those of us too lost to listen?" The owl blinks once, slowly, and spreads her wings. She glides from the column to a nearby olive tree, landing soundlessly among its silver leaves. The branch dips slightly under her weight, then steadies. A soft wind stirs, leaves shimmer, and for the briefest moment, Nicandros feels a quiet presence, not beside him, but within him. A thought, or something gentler than thought, forms in his mind. It is not spoken in words, but in feeling, like a sound remembered rather than heard. Wisdom waits, not in answers, but in stillness. He closes his eyes and the air feels alive with meaning. When he opens them again, the owl is gone. Only the tree remains, its leaves whispering softly against the twilight sky. He sits beneath it, letting the sounds of evening settle around him, the crackle of a torch, the hum of distant voices, the heartbeat of the earth under his palms. The stars appear one by one. A hush falls over Athens. It is a hush older than words, older than temples, older than thought itself. And there, in that silence, Nicandros begins to understand. Wisdom, he realizes, is not something that arrives suddenly, like lightning or song. It is something that unfolds quietly, like dawn. He breathes deeply, feeling the weight of the day fall away. Somewhere, from the dark beyond the trees, the owl calls once, low and distant, a sound both wild and kind. He smiles, and the corners of his eyes crease softly. The sound of the owl's wings fades into the night. And still, he listens. The next morning dawns clear and pale. A soft mist curls over the olive trees, and the stones of the Acropolis glisten faintly with dew. Nicandros wakes to birdsong, not the cry of gulls or the chatter of sparrows, but the low, steady rhythm of cooing doves echoing through the temple courtyards. He moves slowly through his morning, mind still lingering on the memory of the owl. Her words, or what felt like words, have stayed with him, woven through his thoughts like threads of gold. Wisdom waits, not in answers, but in stillness. He repeats them quietly to himself, letting each phrase settle between breaths. Stillness, the one thing Athens rarely offers. The marketplace below hums with life. Fishermen call out their morning catch. Children chase each other through narrow streets, and the blacksmith's hammer sings a sharp rhythm against the anvil's ring. But above it all, beyond the noise, beyond the hurry, he begins to notice something else. A quieter rhythm, a harmony beneath the chaos. When he listens closely, the clang of metal sounds less like noise and more like a heartbeat, steady, strong, alive. The call of a street vendor becomes a note, the echo of footsteps a cadence. Even the rustle of laundry in the wind seems to hum with purpose. Nicandros smiles softly to himself. He is starting to hear the city the way the owl might, not as separate sounds, but as one great breathing song. That evening he returns to the hill. The air smells of thyme and warm stone. The sky blushes with fading sunlight, turning from gold to violet to deep blue. He sits beneath the same olive tree where he last saw the owl. The world is quieter here, a place between day and night, between thought and dream. He closes his eyes. For a while he listens to the wind moving through the branches above him. Leaves brush against one another, each one adding a tiny whisper to the whole. The sound is so soft that it almost feels imagined, like a memory of sound rather than sound itself. But in that whisper, something shifts inside him. He feels a warmth bloom behind his ribs, a calm knowing, unhurried and clear. And then, from somewhere unseen, a voice like the faint stirring of feathers, gentle, measured, as though carried on the night air itself. To see, one must listen. To know, one must be quiet enough to hear. The words ripple through him like circles on still water. Nicandros opens his eyes. The owl is there again, perched upon the stone wall, eyes gleaming gold in the dim light. This time he doesn't speak. He only watches. The owl blinks, once, slowly, then turns her head toward the horizon. He follows her gaze and sees the city of Athens stretched below, bathed in the glow of countless oil lamps. Tiny lights, each one a home, a family, a heartbeat. All of them flickering like the stars above. The owl's wings lift slightly, and she takes flight, circling once over his head before disappearing into the dark. Nicandros feels her presence linger, like a quiet echo within him. He breathes deeply, the scent of olive wood and night air filling his lungs. He realizes that wisdom isn't something you search for in books or speeches. It's something that arrives quietly, when you stop searching long enough to notice what's already there. He stays on the hill for a long time, watching the lights of the city twinkle like scattered embers of thought, each one glowing, then softening, then fading into night. When he finally stands, the moon is high above, casting silver light across the stones. He walks slowly down the hill, each step steady, unhurried, each breath a reminder of peace. He doesn't know if he will see the owl again, but in some deep part of him, he knows that she will return when he is ready to listen again. For now, the message she left him is enough. Stillness, patience, listening. He repeats the words quietly as he walks, the night wrapping gently around him like a silken cloak. The streets below are nearly empty. A lantern flickers in a doorway. A child's laughter echoes faintly from a distant home. And in that simple moment, bathed in starlight and silence, Nicandros feels the rarest kind of wisdom. Not knowledge, but peace. That night, sleep comes slowly, but gently. Nicandros lies on his simple straw bed, the scent of the sea drifting through the open window. Outside, the olive trees sigh softly in the wind, their branches whispering the faint rhythm of leaves against air. A faint moonbeam spills across the floor, illuminating the edge of his lyre, the strings catching the light, as though holding tiny threads of silver. He watches them glint in the darkness, and somewhere between one breath and the next, the room begins to dissolve. The air grows softer. The floor beneath him fades. He feels weightless, suspended in a quiet that feels eternal. And then a sound, the same low resonant call of the owl, echoing through this boundless dream. It's not a cry of warning, nor a song of distance, but a steady pulse of warmth, a guiding tone in the stillness. He looks around, and the world of dreams unfolds around him. A vast landscape of twilight and gold. The marble temples shimmer like glass, their pillars bathed in soft moonlight. The stars seem closer here, as if the heavens have leaned down to listen to the earth. The sea stretches endlessly, silver waves rolling in slow motion, each crest sparkling like starlight caught in motion. And there, above the shoreline, the owl waits, perched on a fragment of marble, her feathers glowing faintly with pale light. Her eyes are deep and calm, mirrors reflecting not the world outside, but the one within. Nicandros steps toward her. Each footfall leaves ripples of light on the sand. It feels like walking across the surface of memory itself. The owl spreads her wings, and without words he understands. Come, see as I see. And with that, she takes flight. Her wings move slowly, silently, a rhythm older than time. He follows, though his body feels light as breath. They rise together over the sleeping city. Lanterns glow faintly below, each one a golden star scattered across the earth. The owl circles him once, and then the sky bends. Constellations spinning gently, revealing shapes of meaning. He sees Athena herself, woven from light and starlight, her face calm, her hand resting upon the owl's shadow in the sky. Her eyes meet his, and though she does not speak, a voice fills the space between stars. Wisdom is not hidden. It waits where silence begins. The words drift through him, so soft they barely disturb the air. He feels the truth of them more than he understands it. And then, like a tide receding, the stars fade, and the owl leads him down once more. They land in an olive grove, bathed in the faint blue of pre-dawn. The owl perches low, close enough that he can feel the brush of her feathers against his sleeve. She blinks, slowly, meaningfully. Then her gaze shifts to a small pool of water at their feet. Nicandros looks down. The surface reflects both their faces, man and owl, together in the quiet light. But the reflection shimmers and changes, until he no longer sees his own face, but the faces of others. The baker from the market, the old woman who sweeps the temple steps, the children who play among the olive trees. Each one appearing in the reflection, one by one, smiling gently, until the entire pool seems filled with the life of Athens. And as he watches, the owl's voice comes again, low and soft, woven through the sound of rustling leaves. Wisdom is not yours to keep. It lives in every eye that meets yours, in every heart that listens. Nicandros kneels by the pool, the words echoing in his mind like the final note of a song that will never quite end. He understands now. Athena's owl was never meant to speak only to him. She is the reflection in all who seek to see beyond themselves. The grove fades, the air turns to gold, and before he can say a word, the owl spreads her wings and rises once more. A silent silhouette against the brightening horizon. As the sound of feathers fades, Nicandros whispers softly into the air, "Thank you. I'll listen." And in that moment, he feels something shift inside, a new stillness, not emptiness, but peace. When morning comes, he wakes with the sun warming his face. The world is quiet, clear. And though the owl is gone, her presence hums softly in the rhythm of his breath. Every sound, every silence is a reminder. Wisdom doesn't visit only once. It returns each time we pause and truly listen. The morning light arrives softly, not with the rush of dawn, but with the tenderness of a secret unfolding. Nicandros wakes to the hum of the waking city. Somewhere, a potter's wheel turns. A shepherd calls in the distance. A cart creaks along the narrow stone road. All familiar sounds. Yet this morning, each one feels different, as though he's hearing them for the very first time. The air is cool, still tinted with the pale blue of early light. He sits on the edge of his bed, his fingers brushing the small wooden lyre beside him. It's silent now, but even in silence, he can feel the music humming quietly within him. The same quiet that filled the grove, the same stillness that lived in the owl's gaze. He rises slowly, moves to the open window and looks out across Athens. The marble temples shimmer like polished shells in the morning light. The sea glimmers beyond them, waves catching the sun like rippling glass. From here he can almost trace the path the owl took, through the night air, over the rooftops, across the olive groves. He breathes in deeply, and for a long moment, he simply listens. There, the baker's laughter as he opens his shutters, a child's footsteps pattering on the street, the faint hum of bees waking among the flowers. It's all music, he realizes, just a quieter kind. The music of living things, the rhythm of an ordinary morning. He begins to walk, taking the familiar path to the agora, the heart of the city. Each step feels connected, anchored to something unseen yet solid. Stone beneath his sandals, sunlight on his shoulders, the gentle murmur of others passing by. He greets them softly, a nod, a small smile. The kind of acknowledgement that says, "I see you. You are part of this quiet harmony too." At the market, he stops to help an old man lift a basket of figs. It's a simple gesture, but in the stillness of the morning, it feels like a prayer made visible. He doesn't think of wisdom as something he owns anymore. He feels it flowing through him, through kindness, through patience, through the small, unnoticed acts that shape a day. Later, as the sun reaches its peak, Nicandros sits in the shade of an olive tree near the edge of the city. The tree hums softly with bees, their wings moving in perfect rhythm. He takes up his lyre, the first time since his vision, and lets his fingers move without thought. The notes are simple, gentle, but each one lands like a drop of clear water on still earth. A few children stop to listen. A potter pauses his work nearby. Even the doves nesting under the temple eaves seem to quiet. And for a moment, it feels as though time itself slows to listen. The melody is not meant to impress. It is meant to remind of the quiet beneath sound, the peace beneath thought. When the last note fades, he places the lyre down and closes his eyes. He can feel the warmth of the stone beneath him, the coolness of the breeze, the hum of life all around. And though no owl appears this time, he feels her presence still, woven through the day's calm heartbeat. He knows now what Athena wished him to learn, that wisdom is not in temples or scrolls, not hidden in stars or dreams. It lives in the act of noticing, in the still moment between one breath and the next. Nicandros breathes deeply again. The city moves around him, unhurried, whole, alive. And he smiles, because he understands that this is enough. To be awake in the quiet of morning, to listen, to be part of the music that never ends. The sun drifts lower, shadows stretch across the stones, and as the air cools, he feels his body grow heavy, his breath slowing, his thoughts dissolving into the golden light. The owl's call echoes faintly in memory, soft, low, eternal. He whispers into the fading day, "I'll keep listening." And then, as twilight deepens, the sound of the city softens, merging with the rhythm of the sea, until all that remains is the quiet breath of the earth and the deep, unbroken peace of sleep. The night has returned once more, softly, gently, like a tide rolling in from eternity. The sky above Athens deepens to a quiet indigo, and the first stars appear, small fires scattered across the velvet dark. The city has fallen into hush, shutters drawn, lanterns dimmed. Only the sea whispers beyond the hills, a rhythm as old as the world. Nicandros lies beside the window of his small home. He can see the moonlight folding itself across the marble rooftops, silver and still. In that light, he thinks he sees a shadow drift across the horizon, broad wings gliding without sound. Perhaps it is only a dream, or perhaps Athena's owl still keeps watch. Either way, he closes his eyes and lets the image linger, a guardian in the twilight sky. The air moves softly against his skin, warm, weightless. The scent of olive trees and cool stone drifts in through the open window. He breathes in deeply and breathes out slowly. Again, in and out. Each breath a gentle wave, slowing, lengthening, easing. The day has emptied now. Every sound, every thought, drifting further away. All that remains is stillness. Stillness in the body, stillness in the breath, stillness in the heart. He can almost hear the echo of the owl's call, soft, distant, carried by the night breeze. A reminder that wisdom is not found in seeking, but in resting, not in knowing, but in being. And as his breath deepens, you might feel your own body growing heavy too, the muscles of your face softening, your shoulders sinking down, your hands resting loosely by your sides. The space around you feels safe, quiet, protected. You are exactly where you need to be. There is nothing more to do, no sound you need to follow, no thought you need to chase. Only the gentle rhythm of breath, in and out, like the sea beneath the stars. Let that rhythm carry you, each wave a little slower, each breath a little deeper. The world fades to silver and blue, temple bells distant, the owl's wings gliding across the sky. A dream woven through starlight and peace. And as you drift now between waking and sleep, imagine that same calm night over ancient Greece, the marble cool beneath your hand, the air still, sacred, the stars bright with promise. Far above, the owl circles once more, her call soft and steady, a lullaby to the quiet world below. You are safe. You are calm. You are loved. Let go of thought. Let go of time. Let go of everything but this moment. The story fades, but the peace remains. And as your breath slows to match the rhythm of the sea, sleep rises like the tide, slowly, gently, completely. Now, drift, rest, dream, until morning light touches the world again.